Welcome to our podcast. In this very first episode, we're going to be breaking down our story of how we first met, and also before we first met, all the struggles that we went through and all the breakthroughs that we had that led us to now. And our intention with this very first podcast and our podcast as a whole is to give you the lessons for whether you're single, wanting to get into a relationship, or whether you're in a relationship and you're wanting your relationship to be even healthier, even more loving, and even with more aliveness and passion. Our intention is to give you the best advice possible to really support you with that. So how are you feeling in the very first podcast? Here we go.
I'm feeling so excited. I'm feeling a little nervous.
Me too.
Like wanting it to be perfect, wanting to tell the story perfectly.
Let's start that. What do we all feel like? Truthfully, I'm feeling nervous because it's like this setting. It's different, right?
Yes.
So how else are you feeling?
Yeah, we're in a studio right now. So we're like, totally different in that way. We've got this super professional setup. It's beautiful, but it makes me feel like, oh, I got to get it right.
Yes.
So I'm feeling that, like my inner perfectionist. I'm feeling nervous. I'm feeling really excited, and I'm feeling really like this is really right also. Like I'm so excited to do this podcast with you. It's been something we've been talking about for a long time.
Absolutely. I feel like what would really be helpful is if I just sit back and just have it be like we're having a conversation.
I want it to be that way too. Okay.
So let's have it be like that. Lower. Yeah. So
Thank you.
I would love to start off by sharing a little bit about our pre-story before our story. So our personal story. Yeah. So I'll share for me. Were you about to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, no, actually it's not important. Go ahead.
I'll say for me, to give you all a quick background, some of you might know this, some of you might not know this, but in my very first year of high school, actually let me rewind. Before my very first year of high school, I was a kid who was very bubbly, would just say anything, would do anything, and I was just very free. And that all started to shift in my very first year of high school. And the reason why is because in Australia, we have sports high schools. You guys don't have that in America, right?
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
So in Australia, we have these sports high schools, which is you can go there, anyone can go there, but then there's a lot of people who go there for a specific sport. And at this sports high school, as you can imagine, there's a lot of kids who are very fit and healthy and very athletic. I, on the other hand, wasn't that way. I was this chubby kid, not massively overweight or obese or anything like that, but I was chubby enough to get laughed at. And at this high school, I was called Fat Matt on a daily basis. And my response to that was to try to become as invisible and as small as possible. The reason why is because I thought that if I'm quiet and if I'm small and if I'm invisible, then I'm not a target to be laughed at. And how that affected me was I started to become very quiet. I started to became as invisible as possible. Then I got laughed at even more because I used to be called Mute Karma instead of Matt Karma. And from this, the way that I would show up in relationships was just closed off. I had a really hard time communicating. I don't know if you know this, but there was a ex-partner of mine in front of all of my friends who broke up with me, and she said, "You don't talk to me. You just don't talk." Have I told you that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah. I actually, when I went back to Australia, I just went back to Australia recently and I saw her, and I just kept thinking of that moment because it was embarrassing for me.
Yeah, I bet.
And I was just really quiet. And what happened was I had to go through a lot of my individual healing work because as a result of me just being so closed off and like putting women on pedestals because the way that I saw myself was very low, I became very much like an anxious avoidant in dating. And as a result of that, I was constantly in relationships where they weren't choosing me. They were either sleeping with another man or kissing another man at a party during high school. And then I became very avoidant because I learned that I want intimacy, but anytime that I do want intimacy, I get hurt. So close off. And that's what started to happen. I just started to just have this massive wall around my heart. And as a result, I would attract other people who had their wall over their heart. And then it was a relationship, but a very closed off relationship. So with all of that, went through my own individual healing work, started to do a lot of energy center healing. I started to open up my throat chakra and so many other different things, just allowing myself to just feel all this stuckness that I was feeling around my heart. So I'm going to pause there, and then I'll come back to when we first met. But what is your side of things?
Oh, that was great. I loved, you did a great job.
Thank you.
Now I'm feeling the pressure to have a good story. No, but okay, so my love life story, yeah, it was always a struggle in a different way. So my geez, I think that, I always dreamed and desired of the day that I would have a loving relationship. Like I think a lot of little girls do. I mean, I don't know. Do you think boys dream of that too?
I don't think so. I think with women, there's like a lot of like, I want to get married, and it's, seeing a lot of movies and shows, and I think it's very much indoctrinated, or it's just within. I think it's within all of us, but I think for women, it's much more.
Yeah.
I
think it's indoctrinated, but I think there's also something within us. Like I think there's something within like the feminine brain that desires like connection and closeness and safety that way.
Wait, so tell me about that. So as a kid, you were just envisioning that a lot, like
oh yeah, all the time, like writing in my notebooks,
really?
Looking up wedding dresses. I can still remember the wedding dress that I would wear. I mean, I don't know. I think I was 12.
Wow.
And younger.
I'm not thinking about that.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
That's interesting.
Yeah. No, I was, I was listening to Taylor Swift, and I was like blasting Taylor Swift and like dreaming of the day I'd be like kissing my boyfriend in the rain, and when he'd like pick me up in his car and I'd sneak out, and just this whole fantasy that I had of what I thought love was and what I thought it'd give to me. So I was always like on the search for this perfect partnership, or this perfect boy who would just love me and who I would love, but like the reality just never met up with the fantasy. And the boys that I liked, they were always like the bad boys who were just not interested in any type of relationship, or who were drinking a lot, and I was drinking a lot, and I had a lot of conditioning around being low maintenance and like being the cool girl. So by being the cool girl, I was never bothered by anything. I never asked for anything. I never wanted to be like the crazy girl. I was like always trying to be the cool girl, so I wasn't the crazy girl, because it felt like a lot of people were like talking about that, like the crazy girlfriend, the crazy ex-girlfriend. I wanted to be like the cool girl. So I tried so hard to have that be my identity, but then underneath I was so hurting, because I was just like, obviously having needs and desires, and seeing these boys who I liked and who we would have just like hooked up, and then they're like with another girl at the party. I feel like we have similar stories that way, like seeing people that I liked with other people. And then I remember my friends used to, one memory in particular, I remember friends coming up to me and being like, "Are you okay?" And I was just like, "Yeah, I'm fine." But I just remember like wanting to cry. So painful. And then I stayed at the party and just pretended like everything was fine. So that continued for years, and then I got to the point where I figured, my relationships with men are not working, and maybe it's because I should be dating women. Maybe I want to date women. Maybe, I think there was like some curiosity, some interest there for me. And then my relationships with men were just shit shows, basically. And so I dated women I was 20 years old, and dated women for a few years until it got to a point where I was actually engaged to a woman. And I thought that I had my whole life just planned out before me. We had our dogs and our cute apartment in LA, and that was going to be my life. And underneath that, I was filled with so much anxiety, so like would lay up in bed at night just so anxious and stressed, because like our dynamic was not healthy. I still wasn't communicating, like very similar to you. I was like terrified to communicate. And in my home life growing up, my parents got divorced. We never talked about my parents were divorced. We never talked about anything, and it was always sweeping things under the rug. So anyways, I felt like my patterns got to a peak point where everything exploded and our relationship fell apart, and I thank God for that that we didn't get married. And the truth underneath that was that I was missing being with men. I was like having dreams about being with men. I felt so guilty because I had also then taken on this identity of being gay. I was like, I'm a lesbian, So it's so funny, it's such a different version of me. But that was like then my identity. And when that blew up, basically that was kind of like my low point, my bottom, that had me go on my healing journey before I met you. So I'll pause there, but that's kind of my background story.
Wow. It's like you've had a whole, like another life, multiple lifetimes in this one life.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Because I can't picture that. It's hard. I've seen pictures of you with like short hair and
Yeah.
all this other stuff. And yeah, I can't really imagine that. So that's awesome. And there's so much more. And on our next podcast, I'm actually going to be interviewing Kelly.
Okay, cool.
So this will be, in the next podcast, we can go way deeper into all of that.
And then I'm going to interview you too.
Yes. That's going to happen in the third episode.
Into the depths.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that. I'm excited to interview you.
Me too. It'll be really fun.
So with all of that said, before meeting Kelly, I was in a relationship about 6 to 7 months before that. And long story short with that, we had a great relationship. It just ended in a way that wasn't so great. And there was a lot of fighting at the end. And the relationship wasn't toxic, but the breakup was definitely very, that's a whole other story. But long story short with that, it got to the point where I ended up getting cheated on. And then I had so much just resistance to wanting a relationship. And then I started, during that breakup phase, a lot of healing work was happening. I was also exploring what it would be like to possibly be in an open relationship. So I was on that journey of like questioning, is that what I want? And about maybe 5 to 6 months after that breakup, I went to a Tantra retreat. And at this Tantra retreat, it was going deep into what is it that we want in a relationship? Who must we become? Going into so much more healing work, because each day was based on the different chakras. So each day was just working on each one. And then I remember during the heart chakra day, there was just such a big opening. And what happened for me is on the very last day, we did a self-marriage ceremony, and it's something that we now teach to our clients as well. And it was just a commitment to myself, because no matter who is next to me, I wake up with me, I am with myself 24/7, and realizing that the most important relationship is the one that I have with myself. So cliche because it's true. And then really saying vows to myself that no matter what, who is with me or who is not with me, I'm going to commit to myself. And then having all these different vows, and then blowing out the candle, and I have a video of that. And then what was really interesting is on that same day, straight after that, me marrying myself, a few hours later, I get a message. So should I pause there and keep going, or do you want to say your?
Well, I'll just say a little bit, because
Yeah.
basically, like, exactly what you went through in a different way was what I went through too. Like, I had to come to the realization that, well, I had to learn how to be alone first, because that was really important for me to like go through celibacy and being alone and being through the pain of being lonely. I mean, it was so viscerally painful for me, because I'd always kind of been with someone, even though it was situationships and chaos.
Yeah, I remember that. We went through celibacy. How long was that for?
It ended up being 6 months that I was like fully alone, fully like in my own energy too, which was really important, that I wasn't like flirting or trying to get attention.
So it wasn't
from
just
anyone.
sex. So some people say celibacy is just sex. You were no flirting, no nothing.
Oh my God, no. I was not even looking at men who I thought was, or even if I thought they weren't attractive or were attractive, I was just like, own energy. It was so important for me. Yeah. And anyways, we can go into that on my podcast, but basically what I got out of that time was that my most important relationship is with me.
Yes.
And I really learned how to love myself. It does sound cliche, but it's like, what does it actually look like on a daily basis for me to love me? And it was something that, I always looked for outside of me. And that was where the unhealthy dynamics came in, because it was always something that was missing within.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's all I wanted to say. But now let's go to when we
So
met.
I got a message, but who that message came from, share your story of what happened.
Okay.
And go.
I want to sit back a little bit. Is this okay? Yeah. I want to get cozy. This is fun.
This is fun.
Fix the hair a little bit. Okay. Okay, so. Are you ready? Okay. So, after my 6 months of celibacy, I started dating. And I started dating in this new way that we now teach our clients. We call it conscious dating now, but at the time I was calling it sober dating when I wasn't in my own, wasn't getting drunk off love, right? So anyways, I was dating, and I remember one day, you know, I'd dated a couple guys, but nothing too... Yeah, it was just kind of like there wasn't any real connection, but I was really practicing like leaning in, having nice dates. It was good practice for me because I'd never dated before. It was always like just getting into situationships or whatever it was. So yeah, it was nice and challenging. But anyways, I was scrolling through Instagram one day, and my friend Kim had reposted one of your Twitter quotes, and I really liked it. And so I just clicked on the Twitter quote. This is like mid-COVID.
Yeah.
Clicked on the Twitter quote, went to your page, and I saw you. I was like, wow, he's so good looking. And then I saw that you were in the same city as me. And I was like, what? How do I not know this man? I kind of felt like I knew everyone, because Bali felt like,
during that
Canggu
time,
felt
COVID.
like the expat community was like so small. I felt like I knew everyone.
Yes.
Yeah, during COVID. And so I didn't know you, and I was surprised about that. And then you were in Canggu, and you were like all these things. Like as I was just scrolling through your page, I was like, I was like, what?
Yeah.
So anyways, I followed you, and you had so many followers that I figured that you wouldn't see it actually, because at the time I think my page was like small, and I was like just starting out as a coach also. And I was like, okay, he might not see this, and I just wanted to follow you because I liked your content. And then I just had a quick conversation with God. I was like, if I meant to meet him, then I trust that I will.
Oh, you did that?
Yeah, I did.
I had no idea about that. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I just really like surrendered.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to meet you, and I will if it's right.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So now coming back to my side of things, I was at the retreat. Now during this retreat, I hardly went on my phone. I would check it at nighttime. I'll, post my story, but I was rarely on my phone because the days were so long. And then after I married myself, I went home, and I remember laying in my bed, turning my phone on. And as soon as I went on Instagram, it said Kelly and Bodhi had followed you. And I was like, who is this? I saw your photo, and I was like, she looks sexy. So I clicked on that, and then I saw all of your photos, and saw that you followed me. And then I was just scrolling through, and then I hit follow back. And then after that, when you saw that, tell me your side of things of what you saw and then what you did.
Okay. So when I saw you follow me back, that was when I was like, all right, that's a sign. I want to talk to you.
Yes.
And so I was, like we kind of always are, but I was in like many different like kind of coaching programs, learning a lot about love and relationships, which I really needed obviously at the time, because I was still very much so on my healing journey. And and anyway, so in one of the courses that I was in particular, she was it was all about feminine energy, and basically she had shared about creating openings with men. So I think oftentimes we're kind of conditioned as women to let men come to us, but then it's kind of like we're so passive, and it's like, well, then sometimes they don't, or they don't know they don't know that we're interested.
Yes.
And so although it wouldn't have been probably something I would have done in the past, I don't think reaching out to you would have been. It was uncomfortable for me, but I was just like, okay, I want to create this opening. I'm not going to be super specific. I wouldn't like ask you out, because I knew that I didn't want to do that. I still wanted to have like the feminine kind of masculine dynamic.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, let me experiment with creating this opening, which is also something that we teach now, which is really effective in dating.
Yes.
Just letting someone know, like starting the conversation, opening it up. And so I messaged you, and I said, I think you have the messages up.
I got the
right
message
now.
here.
Oh,
We'll
gosh.
show it. If you're listening to the podcast, you can hear it. If you're watching it, you'll be able to see it. It says, hi, Matt, with a emoji of a pink flower.
I still love using that emoji.
Yes. I love what you're up to. I don't think we've met, but I saw you're in Canggu. So am I. And that was it. Right? Just a really great opening. And then I saw that, and this is what I said. I said, hey, Kelly, how are you? I came back from a retreat and haven't been on my phone much, but for some reason when I went on your picture, compelled me to check you out. AKA saw that you hot, very hot. And I was like, I wanted to just find out who this person is. How did you find my profile? Also saw you're in Canggu. Yes, I am now, but it was in Ubud, XYZ. And then you said, I'm really good. I love that. What retreat were you on? And basically just said that our friend Kim reposted one of your tweets, And that's how we first got connected through the DMs.
And then I want to say that this was really important in my practice of opening.
Yes.
So basically I was like, okay, the experiment was like I was going to create the opening, and I wanted you, if it was right, to create the offering. So these are the words that my coach was using at the time. And so basically it's like, I knew that I was going to start the conversation and kind of like open it up, but I knew that if we were going to go on a date, that I wanted you to offer that, or I wanted you to kind of start that conversation, because obviously I didn't want to like double like penetrate the conversation. And I still very much wanted to be my feminine energy, you know, and like receive that from you. So then you ended up asking me on a date in the DMs. I think it might have been like in that first conversation.
Yeah, I remember asking you to just, let's go to the beach, get a coconut, and then we got connected on WhatsApp, because I gave you my WhatsApp, and I remember I sent you a voice message, and then you sent me a voice message back, and that was like the first time hearing your voice. I remember that, because I remember exactly where I was. So then that happened. Was there anything you want to say on that?
No.
Yeah. So then after that, a few days went by. We had plans our date to go and just get a coconut together. But then after that, I was here in Bali. There's like a lot of cows everywhere. So I really wanted to just go and feed some cows. And then I asked you, do you want to come with me? And then the reason why, so for some context for that, I saw that you were vegan as well. When I remember going on your highlights and your Instagram highlights and just like scrolling through, and I saw that you went to a place here in Bali, like an ice cream vegan place. And I was like, what the heck? And you said something to do with veganism. And then I asked if you're vegan. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And then finding out that you were, I was
and
like,
I already knew you were.
How did you know?
Because I just scrolled on your Instagram, because you had like
stuff about that.
Yeah. Because you had like visited slaughterhouses in Bali. So then you had that as your highlights.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I remember just going through, and then I saw that you're like, you post something about Abraham Hicks in your story, and I was like, what? Who is this woman? She's like vegan, she's interested in manifestation. You were also posting about things that I had just learned about at the retreat. So it was all of these ticks. And after that, I invited you, knowing that you're vegan, to come feed cows with me, because you're vegan for the animals. And I loved that. So then that happened. How was that for you, just to get that message? Were you like weirded out? Or were you like, this
Oh my God, I was like, this is the best offering I've ever experienced. Like feeding fruit to cows. I didn't even know you could feed fruit. Do cows like fruit? Okay. Yeah, and I just liked that it was like different, and it was random, and it was something that we both valued.
Yes.
You know, which was something that was obviously so important to me in my dating journey, to like prioritize values and connection. And so I know that's been really important for both of us. So yeah, I was so excited.
Yeah. So let's talk about our first date then.
Okay.
So I picked her up, and oh no, I didn't pick you up, because you had an accident before that, didn't you?
Well, let me tell you something. I
drove to your house though.
But listen, you asked to pick me up, and then I said no, and I said, I just got into an accident, so I don't want to. And I had just gotten into a bike accident, and my friend was driving, and I like flew off the bike. I had these I have this big scar, and got stitches and stuff. I've had a couple bike accidents in Bali. Early on in Bali, I've learned how to drive now.
Yes.
But anyways, so you don't know this. But you offered to come pick me up, and I said no, and I used that as an excuse. But I also knew that in order for me to like sober date and like slow date, that it would be like breaking my own rules to like get on the back of your bike when I didn't know you.
Oh, interesting.
And I didn't want to like it was almost felt like then I didn't have my own bike, like I couldn't come home when I maybe wanted, or you know what I mean. So it was just like it was too fast for me actually in my own like sober dating plan. And so that's partly, yes, it was true, I didn't want to get in the back of someone's bike, but then like the deeper thing that I actually have never said was that I was also trying to have some boundaries for myself, because I didn't know you yet.
Yeah, I get that. So after that, we did go to the field and we fed some cows, and that was really awesome. And I remember it was just there weren't like sparks flying straight away, that we just had a really great conversation, just speaking to each other and just sharing. And then we found out we had some mutual friends. And before we went to the beach, was there anything else that happens that you remember?
Well, I remember walking out of my house to you sitting there on your bike, to pick me up, but not go on your bike. And I remember that you were driving a bike called a Scoopy.
Yes.
which in Bali, it's like the littlest kind of bikes that they're just, I don't know how to describe them, but there's some people who drive like those loud, like motorcycles that like hurt your ears as you go past.
Yes.
And sometimes like the macho guys are kind of driving those.
Mm-hmm.
And so to see you, and I didn't know you at the time, right? I just knew you had like this big following and you're like this attractive guy. So I was like, is he going to be like that kind of energy of like,
I get it.
egotistic or
Yes.
like macho or whatever. And of course I wanted like that masculine, but like not the
Yeah.
out of balance one. So when you showed up on your little Scoopy, I was just like so happy. I was like, wow, he's like so, like, it was just like there was like a humbleness and like a sweetness and a groundedness about you always that I was like felt very safe around and like instantly connected to you. And I think I felt same, like we definitely, I felt like on our first date, we like definitely had a connection and it felt so good to talk to you and we had so much in common. And it did feel like nice. Like it felt like nice and easy. It wasn't, I think in the past, like I had chased like the spark, like I feel like I've been electrocuted in the wall socket and I'm like sweating and so nervous, and that wasn't and then I had learned right through my healing journey that actually wasn't healthy. That those connections were often like trauma bonds and were just my wounds, like our wounds matching up. And so I was, as I was in this dating process, I was looking for a man who I felt like just safe and comfortable and like almost peaceful, calm with, and of course there's the nerves of a first date. Like it was, of course, that too, but I knew that was a good sign too, that it was just so easy.
So then after that, we had our very first date. We went home. It was only a short date. It wasn't that long.
It was an hour and a half.
Hour and a half.
I remember. It was 90 minutes.
Okay, awesome.
Because I had boundaries of time. But it was perfect because I didn't even have to say that to you. Because, so, to clue everyone else in, for my slow dating journey, it was really important to me that first dates especially would be like under 2 hours.
Yeah.
And so, I remember specifically that you were like, I only have 90 minutes because I'm going to some other thing.
Yeah. I had an event.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, perfect.
Yes. Yeah, it was great.
That's great.
And I actually really loved doing that, like just having short dates. And I recommend that as something that we teach to our clients, or specifically I teach this to men as well. To have a very first date, have it be super short, whether it be 90 minutes, 2 hours, have it be in the daytime, go to a cafe or something like that. And I know that for some people that disagree with that, it has to be like really luxurious and a really awesome date. But I feel like having a first date, just have it be casual, because you don't really know unless you have a conversation with someone or you meet someone in person beforehand. If you meet online, which is where most people meet, you don't really know how you having a conversation online transfers in real life. Maybe you could have a great connection through text message, but maybe in person it's totally different.
Totally.
So I think that that's a great first date idea.
Yeah.
And after all of that, we could give you every single small detail, but just to give you a bit of an idea, we went through some challenges. We had a great connection, and then after that, we ended up getting into a relationship. About how long after?
I think it was like 2 months.
2 months.
Or 3 months after we first met.
I think that I can ask you about that on the next podcast.
Oh, I'd like that. Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
So stay tuned for that. So on the next podcast, I'll ask Kelly all about that side of things and all the stuff that happened between our very first date and also our getting into a relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. And I think just to give the high level, because we had said on the very first date, we like felt a connection, but it wasn't like sparks. It wasn't like, whoa, or I don't know how to describe it, because it was like, whoa, but it was like,
it's like, whoa.
But it wasn't like,
is that from Finding Nemo?
Yeah.
Like, whoa. It wasn't like, whoa, but it was like, whoa. I get that. Yeah. That's how I would describe it as well.
That's what you should look for.
It's exactly what you should look for. People are listening like, what?
Yeah.
I don't understand your language, but.
Yeah. So anyways, as we went through the dating process, like we kept seeing like, wow, we're so aligned on all these levels, like heart level, like attraction level, mind level, and the level of like values and all of that. And we were just like full yeses.
Yeah.
But then we also had each of our stuff come up.
Yeah.
Our patterns, our triggers.
Yes.
We can go into that more in details, but just
sure.
I want to give like the overview of how it progressed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And yeah, so next podcast, make sure you listen to that.
Yeah.
But we got into a relationship. And after that, so a few months later, and then what I really loved about that night when we got into our relationship is, well, do you want to share it? What did we do the very first night?
Sure. Yeah. So we sat down, we had a conversation about it, like very in depth, like first deciding that we were both all in, both wanted to fully be in a relationship. And then we decided to have this conversation of what our relationship would be. Like, what are our desires for our relationship? What are our boundaries for the relationship? What are our, what were other things we went through? Like, it was so long ago.
Desires, agreements, conversations that we had to have. I remember we had a conversation about like the people who we need to tell that we're dating now. Do you remember that?
No.
I remember that because I remember you had a date the next day.
Oh my God.
You remember that?
Yep.
Yeah.
A little bit.
And I remember like having, because again, we'll go into it next podcast, but we were like dating other people.
Yeah.
And I remember you had a date the next day, and then you have to tell that to, and I had other people who I told that we're no longer going to have a connection. I remember one girl really being angry. So that was interesting. And then, so yeah, we went through agreements, we went through boundaries, we went through desires, clearing, like any clearing conversations that had to be had after this moving forward. And that was beautiful. I remember that I sent you another message straight after that when I got home. Actually, I don't have it here. Oh yeah, I do have it here. So I said, just wanted to say, I'm super excited that you are a yes as well, and we get to go on this journey together. I'm so excited to go deeper with you and have fun together. You're amazing. I'm glad we connected, and everything happened recently for me to get clear on what I want and who I want. And after that, I unintentionally sent at 11:11. Yeah. Thanks, universe, for that confirmation of the right choice.
So that original message was at 11:11.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's also something that we teach now, as, people are listening for little takeaways, is that how important it is to just talk about that, because most people just get into relationships and they expect that the partner has the same expectations of what a relationship means.
Yes.
Or they hope that their partner might just know what they want or think they should.
Yes.
Or what they're not okay with or what they are okay with. And the thing is that we all have such different imprints of what a relationship should be, what we want it to be. And until we talk about it, we can't actually reach an agreement. I think that's what so many relationship issues come from.
Yes.
It's just that lack of alignment or
agreement. Lack of alignment,
yeah.
lack of communication, lack of understanding for where the paradigm comes from what it actually means. Mm-hmm. So now we have been together for what, 2.5 years? About 2.5 years now. About 2.5 years. 2.5. We're getting ready to get married.
Almost 3. Months. We're coming up on 3 years of having met.
So it's about 2 years and 6-7 months. Yeah. So now we're getting ready to get married.
Yeah, we're engaged. We're planning a wedding.
Yes. And even that was a important conversation that we went through around like being engaged and what does it mean, and what does the ring mean, and like all of this different stuff that brought up a lot of stuff for both of us.
Yeah.
And I just want to bring it back to everyone listening right now, like how important it is, like what Kelly just shared, to just be able to have the space to have a conversation about what everything means. Mm-hmm. What does marriage mean to you? And what does engagement mean to you? What does it mean to have kids together? Like what is it that you want together as well? And I love the story of us getting engaged, because that also happened from you just being so clear on what it is that you wanted, because I wasn't clear on what if I wanted to get married, because I had this, and a lot of people do have this association to marriage as it's just not the healthiest. And I remember was it Christmas Eve?
No, but it was on that trip. Like we were in the US for Christmas.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was Christmas Eve, but I don't know.
But around that time you shared the desire. Do you want to share?
Yeah. It was, actually I remember now because it was just after the New Year. Mm-hmm. And we were in Texas at the time. Mm-hmm. And I remember we were talking about what we wanted for the New Year.
Yes.
And there was one big desire I had that I just didn't want to share with you. We talked about business, and we talked about health, and we talked about the cats, probably.
Yes.
And the one that we were pretty much done, and I was like, wait, I have one more. Mm-hmm. And I shared with you that I really wanted to get engaged to you that year. And it wasn't something, it was something we had talked about vaguely, you know, but not in like such like, wow, this year, okay. So how is that for you and I share? We can have a whole podcast. We should have a whole podcast episode about this.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll speak about that another time. But now, go.
Well, I think overall it was just like you like you said, you know, you had your own resistance and conditioning, and so did I. Resistance and conditioning. I think we got to go through this really intense like process for both of us of really deciding, okay, what do we want underneath the conditioning and the resistance. And when we got to that, that's when we actually came together and we're like, okay, we want to get engaged.
Yeah.
We want it to look like this.
Yeah.
And so now.
Yeah.
We both feel great and excited about that.
Feel great, excited, getting married soon. And that wasn't even a whole journey of like changing the venues from Bali to now Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now here we are. We have living together. We have 4 cats. Mm. We are designed to have children soon.
Yeah.
And I'm just really excited for our future.
Yeah.
Now here we are working together, right? Bringing our businesses together, creating a podcast together. It's pretty damn awesome.
Yeah, it's really, really fun and amazing, and also challenging in moments. You know, I think that something I love about our relationship, even though we are like in this work and we're both coaches, is that there are times when we also are just triggered and like normal and. Not that we're not normal, or how do I want to say that? It's like, okay, this is it. It's not like we try to be like super conscious and peaceful and like only nonviolent communication, because I think that there's a trap that, you know, people can fall into when they're like doing healing work of like then kind of not actually allowing themselves to like feel or get pissed off.
Yes.
And I appreciate that we also can have fights, and that we also our stuff does come up and we handle that, and we're really honest about that. So,
and I think it can be so helpful. I remember like when we're doing calls and we do share stories about, you know, stuff that we're being with or have been with and works through, just it can be so easy. And I know I've done this in the past of putting other coaches, whether it be in specific areas, on this pedestal where they have everything together 24/7. They never have any doubts or downs or anything like that, and the very second that they do, it's like then I take them off the pedestal. And it's just, I just don't think that it's fair to put anyone on a pedestal, because no one is perfect.
Totally. Yeah, not even just coaches. I mean, I know for me, like just couples I see on Instagram, I'm like, wow, they must be so happy and perfect. And then you kind of get to see, you know, I remember just getting to see some of the behind the scenes, and I'm like, oh, wait, like everyone has their stuff with relationships. Like if you ever think that there's somebody who's just like easygoing, always perfect, compatible in every single topic and every day, it's just like, it's not true.
Yes.
And it's like, I don't even think we want relationships to be like that. You know, like there's like a level of there's like the study that if you have too much conflict in your relationship, then it ends, right? If there's like more than 1 in 5 interactions are negative in your relationship will end. But then if your relationship has less than 1 in 13 like negative kind of interactions or like conflict, then your relationship will also end.
Interesting.
So it's like you have to have a certain level of like conflict, because it's almost like we're like meeting each other in a way, we're like challenging each other in a way, or like inviting each other to like be better in some way.
Yes,
and I think that's
absolutely
necessary.
Yeah. And I think that the difference with us is that we're just very well practiced at all of these different things. You know, we talk about 6 essential skills that all couples who are in a happy, healthy, lasting marriage or relationship have. And I feel like the difference is that we're not perfect, just very well practiced. Practice at being able to come back together. Practice at being able to take ownership whenever we do find ourselves getting triggered and going into blame, and then realizing, oh, it's actually not them, it's me. How did I co-create this? Where do I get to take or see my part in how this all unfolded? And then coming back together after that, you know, or whether it be practicing being able to co-regulate together, self-regulate together, then come back. I think that's the difference.
Totally. And just like spending all the time we have to understand our patterns.
Yes.
You know, if I get triggered at you, I can look at me and be like, well, what is this triggering in me? It's like, well, it's not about you. It's about this thing of the past, and to being able to own that. So yeah. Just as grateful I am that we can fight and like be triggered sometimes. I'm 10 times more grateful that we have the tools to work through that and like be closer on the other side of it.
Yes.
Which has been always one of my favorite parts of our relationship. I said that a second ago, but this is my other favorite part of our relationship, is that anytime there is conflict, it's like we always feel closer on the other side, have even more clarity on what we want.
Yes.
Feel even more connected.
Yep, absolutely. So, question for you.
Okay.
What are you most excited about in the future around our relationship and life that we're building?
I'm most excited about the family that we'll create together. I'm so excited to have babies and just create like this little unit, you know, like a little family unit. I think it's just going to be a whole new journey with like all its own like new joys and new challenges and new growth. And I'm really excited to do that with you.
Yeah. So, follow-up question. What within creating a family are you most excited about? Is there anything in particular, like you becoming a mom, or like what within becoming a mom are you most excited about?
Well, it's hard to say because it's almost when I think about it, I think about us being like 80 years old with like old kids and grandkids. Like I love that idea.
So that's where your mind goes.
Well, that was one place it went, but then the other place is like in the near future, being pregnant and then meeting our babies. That's the most, like the closest thing that I don't know. It's like, I think of both.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
I love that. And why are you excited about that?
I'm excited about that. Jeez. I so many reasons. I mean, I think, like I said, I'm excited for like that next phase of our life. Like I think I'm excited to like experience that joy, but that challenge and that growth, and do that together. And wait, there was another thing on top of my mind, but now I can't remember it. Why I'm excited. Oh yeah, I was just thinking about like the little girl version of me who like always wanted to be like loved. You know, I just remember so vividly like having this vision of like being so in love with someone and having them love me back equally. And I can literally like see myself in my childhood room just like dreaming of that. And it's like the fact that we have that now.
Yeah.
And then we get to just create from here. You know, that we're like in agreement. Here we are in this relationship, right? And it feels like that's like what the marriage is. It's like declaring that to the world. And then from there, like once we've got that like kind of, okay, settled almost. Not settled, but done, decided. It's like now from there we get to build together.
Yeah.
And yeah, like building our business together. We've been doing like building our life together and building our family. So that's what I'm excited for. Building.
I'm excited. I'm really excited to see you as a mom. Like I've seen you with some of our friends' kids, and I just love how much you are connected to kids already. And I can just see that there's all the work that you've done on yourself to get to this point where you are now. And the work that we've done on us in the relationship, I just think that you're going to be such an amazing and loving mom. And yeah, I'm really excited to see the next phase that we get into, but also like the next phase that you go into.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to be a mom. Like,
yeah.
Really excited for that next phase of life. And just like, it's so unknown. Like, it feels like my life as I know it is going to end.
Yeah.
And then there's like this whole unknown.
Yeah.
Even our relationship as we know it is kind of going to end. It's going to transform, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it is going to be like a breakup of how we have a breakup of our life, how we've been living, because right now we're alone, not alone, but like we're together. And if we want to come to this podcast studio, we don't have to arrange anything. We're just like, so it's like a breakup of what it's going to be about 3.5 years or 3 years of how our relationship has been, and then recreating a new one.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can't wait to see you as a dad. You know,
Yeah.
I love like scrolling through reels and seeing like videos of dads with their little kids, and I'm just like, wow, you're just gonna be such an amazing dad, like so funny and playful and loving, and yeah,
Thank you.
wise.
Yeah.
Also,
I'm excited.
okay, I want to hear your now. What are you excited for?
What was the question I asked you?
Just like looking forward in our relationship. What are you most excited about? Wait, hold on. I think he has to fix something. Oh, sorry. Yeah. I thought because you sit back, I'll sit up now.
Cool.
We'll switch it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Cool. So I want to say something different.
Okay.
I absolutely am excited about having kids together. That's going to be really fun. Okay, I'm going to give multiple different things, or some things that just popping up. So I'm really excited about seeing where we go in the future, meaning are we going to be in Bali? Just the unknown of that, because right now we don't actually know. And even if we think we know, we don't actually know. So like what's going to happen, and like what's going to happen within our business, and just where this all leads to. So I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited about us recreating our relationship when we do have kids. And what I'm most excited about is this, not just the podcast, but us creating retreats together and creating programs together. And like right now, we're only in the baby phase. We only just launched our Frequency of Love program. What?
Month
4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
This is us
Aw.
birthing our baby, and just where it's going to be in
Yeah.
10 years, 20 years, 50 years. I'm just really excited to see how this all unfolds, and then, helping couples even more and single people even more. And just, I'm just really excited to see us coming together and supporting other people. That really excites me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Me too. I'm so excited for that.
Yeah.
Doesn't it feel like so divinely orchestrated that we met and we are so aligned on that level, that we like coach together, and that we, just last night we were hanging out. We hung out with some friends, and then they left and went home, and the thing that both of us wanted to do was like watch this woman like coach on YouTube.
Yeah.
And we were like laughing and loving it, and I was like, wow, the fact that we're both so aligned on like what we love and what we feel lit up by is really special, because we both are like quite obsessed, I would say, with growth and learning and all that comes with that. So it feels so special to get to create that.
Absolutely. I was literally just thinking before this, I had a workout and I was swimming in the pool, and I was just really reflecting on how grateful I am that all of the stuff that happened that was so painful led me to us and where we are, and just now everything that's happening, and just seeing how even I'm so grateful that all the pain, even though I wouldn't wish it on anyone, that the stuff that I went through, going through being cheated on, and even as a kid, and seeing the women that I love, women that I liked, whether it be kissing another man or finding out that I slept with another man, like I wouldn't want it any other way, because it led me to all of this pain and trauma that then led to me alchemizing it and getting all these lessons, and then also having a deeper appreciation for how relationships can be, because I know what the opposite is. And how grateful I am that I went through all of that.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Divinely planned. Yeah.
Is there anything else?
Well, one last thing I thought to say about what you said about the business, like, as I said, business, and I mean, all the things we're building, right? I think that's like the collective excitement.
Yeah.
And all the different babies we're birthing, whether they be business or human.
Yes.
But what I love about like the flow that we've gone into recently is that you're really leading the business side of things. and I'm leading the family side of things. And it feels so nice to like be in these roles, to be like relaxing into like the roles that actually feel the most aligned with our excitement, as you can see.
Yeah, absolutely.
and that are both aligned and like nourishing the bigger vision. But yeah, that's something I really value about our dynamic and our polarity.
Yeah. I remember speaking about this very thing because it's a conversation that can bring up so much shit for people.
For sure.
Right? And if we look at anything that is in harmony, whether it be a business, whether it be like, I love watching sports, like a sports team, right? If we have a sports team where it's not just one-on-one, but a team against a team, every team has a specific role, or every player on the team has a specific role. And if one player is trying to do the 12 other roles, then the team is no longer in union, right? Or if one player is trying to do 2 other people's roles, and the team isn't in union, and everyone knows their role, they're playing the role well. And in business, it's the same thing. If a CEO is trying to do all this other stuff, then the business cannot work as well compared to if everyone is just so knows their role and is doing it well. And then somehow it has got to the point where in relationships, that isn't being practiced, it isn't being spoken about. Instead, it's actually being shamed if you aren't doing a role that you really love, right? And I think that that's what's amazing about us, is that we are clear on our roles and we do it well and we love it as well.
Yeah, and there's flexibility within it. I mean, it's like decided and it's clear, but then it's also like it's not like you're trapped in that role. I think that that's why things maybe swaying the other way on the pendulum, because maybe people felt like trapped in their role, and so now there can be like that freedom, or we could switch, you know. But then it's like when we feel into what feels true for us and what lights us up, it's obvious which it is.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's like, doesn't mean if I'm leading the business that you don't have any say, or it's just if you're supporting the house doesn't mean that I can't support the house in any way.
Right.
So,
or that it's all on me, or
exactly,
the business is all on you, the house is all on me, the kids are all on me. Of course not.
Yes.
It's going to be like a team game, team sport.
Yeah.
Trying to tie it back into your sports metaphor.
No, I get what you mean.
Yeah.
But I think we can just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Was there anything else?
Should we do a little ad for our program?
Yeah.
That we could pop in somewhere in the...
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are listening in, this is specifically for single people. If you have enjoyed this and you are single and you want to get some support, we have 2 different options. You can either join our free workshop where you can learn a little bit more about how you can get prepared to get into a relationship, where we show you a big reason why people don't get into a relationship, or why you get into a relationship but the relationship doesn't work, is because there's trust issues, trauma, and triggers that get in the way. So now you're not in the relationship, you're in a relationship with your projection of the person based on past trauma. And one of the things that we do really well is to be able to support people to dissolve their stories, accept and love their trauma to the point where that can be healed, and then get into a relationship because you are a new person. So if you want some support with that, you can go to mattandkelly.co. Kelly spelled with a Kelley, .co/workshop. We have a free training there. If you want to get support with us, you can go to mattandkelly.co/frequency of love. And that's our program where we can support you. We can coach you.
Yeah. And if there's one thing, I think that's, we've talked about this, of course, in depth, about if there's one thing that's helped us throughout the time, even to find each other, but then to also have the relationship that we've had, has 100% been the healing work and the support that we've leaned into from people who already have what we wanted, being willing to see our blind spots to heal. And so, yeah, if that speaks to you and you want to like dive into that journey, then watch the workshop.
There you go. Yeah, because on that, there's so much that you can get from podcasts, YouTube videos, books, and all these different things. But to have someone there listen to what you were saying, but what is being said behind what is being said, and then to be able to reflect back to you what could be getting in the way, is so powerful. Yeah. So that's where we can come in and really support you with that. So highly recommend checking that out. I'm really excited for this.
Yeah, me too.
I love you.
I love you too.
I'm really excited for this.
Yeah.
And for all of you who have been listening, thank you for listening. Please let us know on Instagram if you had. Put it on your story. We would love to get this to more people. So please share this around. And until next time.
Bye, everybody.